Okay, mic check 1 2 1 2. I am the Y2K collector, and if you've been following me for some time, you know that I've bought and sold games for years now, and between last year and this year, I started to sell some of my collection, a good chunk of my collection, to help launch an Airbnb business. And it was a very exciting time. We really launched off with this in the beginning of 2022, and there was a lot of excitement. And we got everything set up, and we were pretty much running a decent business for about 6 months or so, 6 or 7 months. And just very recently, New York City came down and began enforcing a law that was passed a few months back, which essentially bans Airbnb in New York. And so, like all games, we play the game of life, and sometimes you start a mission and you run into snags, and you may fail, and you might need to use a continue. And so the city of New York definitely dealt me a death blow by passing this law. And I just kind of wanted to take a second and do something a little bit different on the channel, and just kind of share my perspective on some of the changes that we're seeing, and just overall how it's going to impact me and some of what I decide to do on the channel here. So first off, Airbnb in New York has actually been a really good thing, I think, for both hosts and those that would want to visit the city. As a host, what I found was that there were just as many native New Yorkers using Airbnb as there were folks from either out of town or out of the country using Airbnb. And I think part of that was because that, while it is considered something that it's considered a hotel alternative, right? So the expectation is that the folks using Airbnb or renting on Airbnb are from very far away, and I find that that's not always the case. Sometimes people just want a different to be in a different space, to be in a different scenery. It doesn't necessarily mean that they want to throw a party or that they want to, cause problems in the neighborhood. But sometimes maybe they just want to get away from where they're at. If you live in New York, you'll understand that getting housing, it can just be a very challenging thing just because of the cost of housing in New York City. And so what you'll find is that a lot of native New Yorkers, they'll have roommates. Sometimes you'll have a lot of roommates. I've seen situations where you'll have 8-10 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. You'll literally have one family in one bedroom and another family in another bedroom. And I'm not saying that this is the best way to live or the preferred way of living, but this is just the reality in a city that's as heavily populated as New York, with very little affordable housing available. And so, what I found, again, just getting back to the Airbnb piece, is that, again, it's a service that was being used by both, yes, folks from out of town, but also folks who are local. And I think it just, you had to make sure that you're doing a good job of vetting your guests. But for the most part, I had not had any bad experiences with it, and I used it as both a guest and a host. and I've had great experiences with it. Are there folks who have had bad experiences? For sure. But from my perspective, it seemed like something that was good and it was working. We've had all types of folks stay with us, from professionals, medical professionals, business professionals, families. They come for the holidays, Mother's Day, birthdays, 4th of July, you name it. A lot of times, especially in the summer, folks want to be in New York because New York is a beautiful place in the summer. It's just amazing. We've got some of the best beaches. Contrary to what people think, some of the best beaches on the planet are right here in New York, in the New York metro area, whether Long Island or, some parts of upstate, but just some really good stuff. We've got some really great nature, great parks, all that stuff. So New York's a great place to visit, especially in the summer. So, it's a service that I thought was actually pretty cool. But it seems that there is a big crackdown on it in New York because of the effect that it's having on housing, right? There's a housing shortage in our city. If you've been watching the news, you also know that we've had, the general population of our city has increased a lot, right, over the past year. So there definitely are challenges with housing, but I think it's a little deeper because, this ban on Airbnb, while yes, it may, open up more housing, is it going to be housing that people can actually afford? New York, I think they said recently, is the most expensive place to live in the world. And, when you think about that, I'm not sure how many people who are struggling are going to be able to afford such high rents, or the high rents that I think are going to be attached to some of these units that are going to go on the rental market, because costs for a lot of things have gone up between, the start of the pandemic and now. Inflation has just been crazy. So, when I think about all of these factors and just being a New Yorker and living in New York, I don't know if the ban is a good or a bad thing at this point. For me, the best part about the approach I took to starting the Airbnb was that I already owned the property that we were using for the Airbnb, and all of the upgrades and all of the the renovations we did were renovations that were needed regardless. So that's the positive there. The negative is that it's a missed opportunity, at least until the laws are changed again. I don't know if they're gonna tailor it here in New York, but I think that just the sudden change is definitely going to impact a lot of people, and I think it's just going to be interesting to see how it all works. On top of that, a lot of things are changing, right? They're saying that a lot of families are running out of money, that they're going to be out of money by the end of October. They're saying that, and when I say they, I mean this is what major media is saying, right? It's all of your major news channels, ABC, NBC, Fox. These channels are basically reporting these stories based on the data that they're receiving. And so how does this all impact video game collecting, right? Like, are we going to have the money to buy and collect video games when there's just more pressing matters? When we start to look at our hierarchy of needs, where do games fall into it? For me, I feel like there are certain games in my collection that are just timepieces, like they're art pieces at this point. Certain pieces of physical media that I own are just, things that you probably won't see 20 or 30 years from now. And I think that there's something to be said for that. As information grows, as AI grows, technology is going to continue to advance at an exponential rate, especially when you factor in AI. So it's just, some of these physical things, while they may seem a little corny and cheesy, I think there will be a time where we'll look back and appreciate, man, I can't believe we did this, I can't believe we had, these archaic looking, controllers, and these prehistoric looking cartridges that we used. And I think it's just really cool to be able to have that. So for me, this doesn't change much with my collecting. I was already in selling mode and refining my collection and just kind of getting the things that I want. So I think I'm going to be doing a collection video here pretty soon. I'm going to, I think, pull together a collection video and just kind of show you guys what I've kept in my collection. I've got a lot of really cool complete in box systems that I'm excited to share. Some really uncommon consoles, and just some different things that I've been able to acquire, especially this year. This has been a great year of collecting for me, especially when you think about the retro stuff that I've been able to get my hands on. And I got a lot of my best stuff at retro game stores. It wasn't an eBay year where we eBayed everything. No, a lot of these amazing finds were things that I picked up at local retro game stores, things that I just walked into the store and saw and found, and was able to negotiate and bargain and trade for. So I will be doing a collection video here soon, so stay tuned for that. And thank you for tuning in today, just for me to share some of my thoughts. If you're from the New York area, let me know what you think about the current state of the housing market, Airbnb. If you're into Airbnb, let me know what you think about that. And yeah, just wanted to share some thoughts on that. All right, well, thank you for stopping by. I am the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.